And Nashville is interesting because it is one of those cities that has a net inflow of people every day. I mean, it's a huge number that you have. And now all of a sudden, the role that you guys have to curate what's going on in the city now is a larger and larger audience. I mean, Nashville's grown a ton. But I will tell you that I don't think people read very many articles more than once or listen to a radio thing. They'll listen to a song a million times, you know? And so music it is that kind of force. And you guys have this kind of interesting, you know, responsibility to highlight or not highlight. Julie, you guys do that a lot. So what is the role of music in understanding a place or aspirationally shooting for something? Let's talk a little bit, because it's the music city and there's music that happens and it's not just country, it's a lot of music. But what is music?
There are now greater numbers of artists who are Black Nashville natives who are simultaneously making and releasing music and operating in a very self-sufficient way because they do not have access to industry resources in most cases. There are, I mean, we can point to, you know, a few examples of people who have made their own inroads because they're making their own way, but it was not a path that was laid out for them. But this is a point where you can very easily, if you want to hear it, if you want to find it, there are, you know, a number of different formidable voices that are emerging right now as artists and songwriters, singers, rappers, producers in hip hop and R&B that have lived their entire lives here in the shadow of the industry and in the city, and who, you know, I mean, some came up in North Nashville or out east or whatever, and they understand, they have, you know, a sense of historical lineage and importance. So I have heard a lot of songwriting that talks about the lived experience. I mean, I'm talking about young artists. I'm talking about, you know, I mean, I talk to them all the time. I'm talking about people who are college age and through their 20s into their early 30s and who give us a picture of their experience. You know, I've felt it and, you know, and followed what's happening on an individual level and then also collectively, because that's what it takes. It takes so much ingenuity and so much drive and so much persistence, and it takes people, you know, sort of coming together in collectives and figuring it out. And there is no one model, there's no one path, but that is something that is in our presence. The city has not, it's not that there haven't been artists here coming up, you know, generations back. They have not been heard broadly or covered seriously. And then there's just something about the collective effort and energy of a lot of people striving at the same time to get somewhere, and where they're, you know, I mean, they're working to be heard as individuals, doing with their own vantage points, doing their own thing, their own sound, their own identity, but alongside each other and you know, collaborating. And
so much of, like, you know, what I love about rap, hip hop, and things like that is it's very much it's a what's going on in my neighborhood, this town, or whatever. So much of country music is dirt roads and whatever. I've been in Nashville for a while. I haven't seen that many dirt roads. I'm missing it. But
I think what Julie is saying, they excite me. These artists that she's talking about. This is what excites me, because to Khalil's point about people coming in and getting engaged, do people know what to get engaged about? Right? Like he's talking about the stories that even Nashvillians don't know. There are some Nashvillians who know these stories, right? So to get people that are going to share these things, I think will help increase the engagement. We have people that come in that don't know any better and that move into East Nashville and are like, hello, Black people. And I'm like, but do you though? Because do you know where you live? And do you know the history of even this community right here? And so having these voices that can come in and shine a light on that, because, I mean, to be honest, we are not anywhere new yet. And I say this about country music, but it applies to Nashville on the whole. Like, what we're seeing right now is not new. Like, you can spend like 2 hours in newspaper archives and seeing that we've had these kind of moments bubble up where there are a group of people who have been, you know, consistently pushed to the margins, who are like, I don't want to be here anymore, and we are fighting for our proper place in this society, in this city. This has happened over and over and over again. People coming here, of course, people have always come here. We have all these colleges. I can't stress enough the importance of having multiple HBCUs here. You know, with Fisk, that was at one point, that was the highbrow black community, and then you've got TSU that is kind of middle brow, and you've got American Baptist that is like somewhere, beneath that. Like, there have always been these groups of people that have come in, that have made Nashville their home, that have seen the issues in the city and have thought to shine a light on it. It's just, will the larger community now deem it important enough to say, okay, yes, we want to get behind this and do something about it?
So I want to go back to it's all about the money.
It's always about the money.
It is
Sorry.
But an attorney friend of ours who represents the Monacan Nation told me one time, he's like, stuff's not going to get done unless you have some influence in government. And one of the saddest moments when we were interviewing Lorenzo Washington, I said, do black people have a voice in government in Nashville? And he kind of, bowed his head and he says, no, we don't have a voice.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore, and we want you to join us on The Good Road.
For more in-depth content, meet us on the internet at thegoodroad.tv.
Hear more great stories, connect to organizations, and make sure you download our podcast, Philanthropology.